Hey,
Hey,
is this heaven?
sir, this is a Wendy's.
Oh, God. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Uncultured Universe. We are the podcast where two friends show each other movies, shows, and anything else that they need to see, hear, or experience in order to get a little more cultured. I'm your host, Joe, and I'm joined, as always, by the uncultured Justin.
It's me.
Today, we will not be selling the farm, and we will be resolving our daddy issues. It's the 1989 sports family comedy drama, fantasy comedy drama, Field of Dreams.
Let's get this straight, okay? There is comedy in this. It's
Uh,
there. It's little, but it's there.
yeah, Wikipedia calls this a sports fantasy drama. I added the comedy myself just purely from the presence of James Earl Jones. We will get into it.
Oh yes, JEJ bringing the heat.
I also made the split second decision 5 seconds before I started talking to not do my intro as a whisper across a cornfield because I'm realizing that probably doesn't sound good on audio.
I hate ASMR.
We're just like clicking our nails here.
God, it's the worst. Anytime I come across a TikTok video or Instagram reel that starts with, "All right, now first I'm gonna do," I skip immediately. Skip.
I'm not going to like actively pursue it or talk about it because it feels very like fetishy. But I mean, when I hear it, I do get it. Like, I'm like, there's something here.
Oh, 100%. Definitely not kink shaming anybody. Like, there's something out there for everybody, you know? If whispering, like, I get that it does brain tingles to some people, but it tingles my brain in the wrong way.
Brain tingles.
Mhm.
Justin, we're technically, this is supposed to be an August record, but we pushed it a week, so we're in like the first week of September. But
Labor
we are
Day.
wrapping Labor Day. You know, it happens. We are wrapping up our sports mini series where we talk about sports movies. Your episode was Varsity Blues, and I, of course, followed it up with this secret, not about sports movie that we just watched. What are your thoughts on Field of Dreams?
So I am aware, and I was aware of like the cultural significance of this movie. This came out, what was it, 89, right? So the turn of like late 80s, almost 90s. So I get the importance of this movie and how it's like considered an American classic at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I never got around to it. The only baseball movie that I hold truly near and dear to my heart is The Sandlot, of course. We talked about this when we were thinking of sports movies.
Mm-hmm.
The Sandlot, of course, is the baseball movie for kids from the 90s, and then of course it tells the story of kids from the 50s or whatever the hell.
Yeah,
But like that,
every kid in their childhood must pick one James Earl Jones baseball movie to go with, and
yeah,
it's this or The Sandlot.
yeah, mine was not this one. I knew sort of the concept. There is some sort of whisper thing from beyond that is talking to Kevin Costner, and he feels compelled to build a baseball field at his house or something. And that's kind of all I knew, really. I was like, I don't know what the deeper levels of it are, what the actual message of it. So I was, I went in this totally blind.
Very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jonathan was also of the opinion, like he shared your same boat where he knows of Field of Dreams but maybe hasn't watched it, and he was like getting it confused with Angels in the Outfield, and I was like,
Yeah.
not the same thing at all.
No.
Yeah. So this movie kind of I picked this as a bit of a curveball, pun intended, for our sports miniseries because I was almost going to go with the extremely obvious Joe choice, which would have been A League of Their Own, making you watch that. I feel like I will be able to catch that one in a future miniseries, and this one maybe not as much. So I took the opportunity. We watched Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams kind of exists, I realize, in like a quartet of Costner movies that I just like grew up with. One of my favorite podcasts that I listen to is called Blank Check, and they cover like director filmographies. They talk about like one movie per episode, kind of like how we do. And they just did a mini series all about like Kevin Costner and the movies that he directed. And so it's been very much like a Costner themed summer for me. And I realized there was a lot of Costner in my childhood, specifically this movie. There's a movie called Silverado. Have you seen that? It's like a Western. It's one of like his early ones.
I was gonna say, is it about trucks? But no, it's about
it's him and Kevin Kline and Scott Glenn and Danny Glover in a Western together, and they're like taking on the leader of a town and stuff. Also Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, huge for me. And then lastly, Waterworld. I didn't realize that Waterworld was supposed to be a bad movie because we watched it, I swear to God, like every other week growing up. I could probably recite that movie line for line.
I remember watching that movie too in theaters. And isn't that movie like famously like 3 hours long?
It's pretty long. I think there's like multiple versions of it. There's like director's cuts and stuff.
Yeah. It was like an action-packed kind of like blockbuster hit of that summer. But yeah, I just remember being entertained and kind of bored seeing it as a 7-year-old.
That's a lot of water. Yeah,
a lot of water, so much water. And but yeah, so here's my main thing with Kevin Costner. The one note that I have about Kevin Costner, and this is
one note.
It's a one note thing that I wrote about Kevin Costner, and we don't normally shit on actors or talk bad about performances or anything. But man, Kevin Costner cannot act his way out of a paper bag.
Oh, Justin.
I feel like
we were doing so well the last few episodes.
I know. But I mean, that's not to say that I did not enjoy this movie, because I did. I really did. But that was my only like kind of pulled me back in, or pulled me out of it rather. Kevin Costner is just, it's hard for him to emote, or it's hard for me to pick up on his emotions. And I feel like this movie could have hit way harder with a little more. Give me a little more
I can see
out of these emotional scenes. Like I'm inputting my own kind of stuff into the movie, and I'm inputting my own kind of experiences or whatever. So I'm still moved in the parts where you're supposed to be moved, but I'm not moved by the performance of Kevin Costner.
Yeah, he's not like going super high or super low on the emotional range. I can see where you're coming from there. He's kind of steady throughout. He's kind of the straight man in all of this. Mm-hmm. And then like you see him more recently in a role like Yellowstone. I don't really watch Yellowstone, but I've seen like clips and stuff where he's basically playing like Western like Succession, right?
Yeah,
and he's just like very like gruff and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so he's not really emoting as much in that. I think that is kind of the lane that Kevin Costner lives in. Again, like in this, I'm gonna like quote stuff from this Blank Check miniseries that they did. They said like, especially in his early years and into like the Yellowstone years, he's really like become like the definition of like an American guy in like cinema and TV, even though he's not like conservative in the way that you think that would be. He's actually kind of like a liberal / libertarian. I don't know. But this movie, he is taking more of like a lighter comedic approach, especially compared to something like Yellowstone or something like Waterworld.
Yeah.
And I kind of love it. There is he's kind of like he's kind of a doofus in this. He's like, you can imagine like this happening in real life. Imagine this happening in real life. Yeah. And like, if you were the family members of this family, you would be like genuinely concerned that this guy is going insane, and plowing through his cornfield. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't really do a lot to dissuade that. He is very kind of happy-go-lucky, just letting it all happen in this movie, until there are pockets of it where he gets like very frustrated at the voice, and those are kind of my favorite parts, where he just kind of lets it crack. And there's a moment at the end where he gets to the point where like he's literally saying like, what is in this for me? Like I did all this, like this is bullshit. Like what do I get out of all this? And I kind of like it.
You're right. Those are the points that I did enjoy more out of his performance, because it's like, oh, he is human.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is emotion to this. Like, getting frustrated with the voice, and then like having it up to here with like not really understanding. Like now he's asking questions, and now he's kind of getting pissed off. Like it was kind of detracting for me, but because it was just like, hang on, like I feel like you should be feeling way more, or asking way more, or doing more. But like you said, he is kind of just going with the flow, and like really just kind of letting the plot just like get to it.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't seen this movie since childhood, and I was surprised how like after the opening like montage of images and stuff that show like, oh, here's his dad and here's where he met his wife in college and they had a kid and they bought a farm. It just like it gets into it immediately. Like the next scene is him in a cornfield hearing the voice. There's like no build up to it at all. I didn't realize that. And I also there's moments in the film when he is like in like the road trip portion of the film that I completely forgot about. I completely forgot about all the Burt Lancaster stuff. And how for a moment this literally becomes a time travel movie. I forgot about that. But let's do this. Do you want to get into the trailer and plot description just so folks have an idea of like what the hell we're talking about?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, let's do that. Let's see this. Here we go.
Oh my god.
Talking baseball.
Yeah, I think that really captured the plot of this movie.
It's about baseball, and there's a field. It's the field of dreams.
Baseball, the American pastime, and people will come, Ray. Yeah, the plot of this movie is insane. So I understand how it may have been hard to adapt that into a trailer. And I like the direction that you went there. Let me give you some film stats, and then I'll make you try and describe the plot of Field of Dreams in under a minute.
Easier said than done. Yeah.
Yeah. Field of Dreams, directed by Phil Alden Robinson.
What's he known for? What's he done?
He also directed a movie called Sneakers, and then a movie called The Sum of All Fears, which is the Jack Ryan movie that is Ben Affleck and not Alec Baldwin or Harrison Ford.
Oh, okay. Wait, didn't they do another Jack Ryan like series on Amazon?
They did another movie with Chris Pine, and they did a series with Krasinski.
So were they trying to like make an American James Bond with that character? Kind of seems like it. Interesting.
That's exactly what they were doing.
What is tell me about Sneakers? Is that a basketball movie?
No, I think based off of the poster, it's like a Robert Redford, maybe like heist movie. It's very much like Ocean's 11, like we got a crew style poster.
Okay, not like the noun Sneakers, but like
the other noun Sneakers.
The other noun Sneakers. A person, the one who sneaks. Yeah.
I think that is the idea. I could be completely wrong though. It looks like a 90s heist movie though.
Okay, cool. All right, go on.
Field of Dreams is based off of a book, in fact, called Shoeless Joe by W.P. Kinsella. So, like the namesake of Kevin Costner's character in the book, in the movie. I was reading some trivia here. The test audiences for the movie, it was originally called Shoeless Joe Jackson, and they didn't like that because it sounded like the movie was about a hobo. And so they changed it to Field of Dreams, and they had to go back to the writer of the book and be like, so sorry, we had to like change it. And he was like, I don't give a shit, because the publishers of the book are the one that came up with the title Shoeless Joe, and he originally wanted to call his book Dreamfield. So it was a weird full circle moment, even though Field of Dreams is a much better title.
Field of Dreams is so much better as opposed to Shoeless Joe. Because you're right, Leia, it's like, what is this like shenanigans we're going to get into with this hobo
It makes
guy?
you think of like Forrest Gump or something.
Yeah, that's amazing. I had no idea. That's really cool. I saw that when it was doing the credits, based on the book by some guy, and then I didn't even put it together till you just read it. That Kinsella, same guy.
Yeah,
cool.
There you go. This movie stars Kevin Costner, Amy Madigan, little baby Gabby Hoffman. Right when you don't know where the movie is going, in comes James Earl Jones, Ray Liotta, Timothy Busfield, Burt Lancaster, and a young Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in the crowd scene at Fenway Park. They were extras. How about that?
Wow. How about them apples?
Wow. It was released in May of 1989. It made $84 million against a budget of 15, so not bad, because they had to like rent all that land and plow through a cornfield or some poor family's farm.
Yeah, like not a lot of like on location shooting. Like road trip scenes is just like, let's get an aerial shot going down some bumpkin road, and then we'll shoot on a lot for being here and being there. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
I mean they're on a farm. They're in Fenway for a little bit, and then they're on the road for a little bit, and then that's kind of it.
That's pretty much it.
This movie received 3 Oscar nominations in the categories of Best Original Score by James Horner, the guy who did Titanic. Best Adapted Screenplay. We love talking.
We love those. Yeah.
And Best Picture, which is fun. Because that was back when they only had 5 Best Picture nominees, so special.
So those were the nominations.
Those are nominations. They didn't win.
They didn't win any. Bummer.
It'd be crazy. This one Best Picture.
Who did it lose to that year in '89?
In '89,
or I guess '90.
Yeah, let me see, because that wasn't. It'd be hilarious if it was Dances with Wolves. Hang on.
His other movie.
His other movie in the '90s. Yeah, it was '89. It lost to Driving Miss Daisy.
Oh, yep.
Which
movie
I have not seen. But other movies nominated that year were Born on the 4th of July, Dead Poets Society, and My Left Foot, all of which I have not seen.
You said you've seen some of Dead Poets Society.
I think I said I know of Dead Poets Society.
Oh.
I haven't officially seen it. I think we crossed it off our list just because I know enough about what it's about.
Well, yeah, I guess. Okay, we'll put it in the maybe column.
I also know the biggest thing I know from Dead Poets Society is the Saturday Night Live skit where they're all standing up on the desks, and one of them stands up and gets his head chopped off by the fan. There's just everywhere.
I didn't know that was a skit. That's amazing. Of course, SNL will do that.
I gotta send it to you. Okay. Yes, so that is Field of Dreams. Fun time. You want to try and give me a plot description on this bad boy, and then we can get into more thoughts on the movie.
I can do it. Let's do it.
All right. Hold on, because I'm going to pull up the right one this time. Okay. Your plot description for 1989's Field of Dreams starts now.
Angels in the Outfield stars Kevin Costner, and he and his family live on a farm. He lost his dad once or years ago, and he's standing in a field, and he hears a voice, and it says, "If you build it, he will come." So he's like, "What the fuck? I guess I should build a baseball diamond in our profitable cornfield." And his wife's like, "Okay, whatever." So he does it, and then he keeps hearing the voice, but then a ghost comes through the cornfield, and it's Shoeless Joe Jackson, which is a big deal. And then he's like, "I need to go on a road trip because I keep hearing voices, so I'm going to go find this guy who's a writer. It's James Earl Jones." And then Ghost Dad movie keeps going on, and he goes across town. He goes into a time warp where he sees an old ghost, but then he comes back to his farm, and it's the young version of the ghost, and they're playing baseball. They figure out the riddle, and Ray Liotta's there, and he's like, "Go play catch with your dad," and he's like, "I'm gonna go play catch with my dad." But also, a bunch of people are gonna come and want to see this because they believe now. That is Angels and Airwaves.
I really love when a plot description includes the movie keeps going on.
It does, and it did.
Yeah, I think you touched on some themes here. We love it when a baseball movie is actually a honeypot for a movie about the bond between a father and his son.
I clocked.
Did you see that coming?
I didn't know that that's what this was. I clocked it during like the intro montage, probably within the first couple minutes, and that was my first note that I wrote down. It's just like, this is a dad movie, and it's going to make me cry, isn't it, Joe?
It's a dad movie.
It's a dad movie, and damn it, it did. Even though Kevin Costner didn't give me the performance I wanted, it still hit.
I love getting you with dads with daughters movies because I know that's going to hit you hard.
Even though this is more this is more of a dad son thing.
It's more of a his dad, yeah, his dad and him.
Yeah, which we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Field of Dreams, just to kind of like walk back through your plot description a little bit slower because we do need to take some time here.
We do.
Some iconic moments in this film. If you build it, he will come is voted as like a top line in all of cinema by the American Film Institute. They have like a top 100 lines for movies. It's on that list. Mm-hmm. And so Kevin Costner hears that voice in the middle of his cornfield and he starts obsessing over it. And it kind of ties into the themes of this movie that they pretty clearly like spell out on the page where he's like, I'm like 36. First off, he's like 36 in this movie. I almost threw up.
I know. I'm just like, wow, that's a hard 36.
He's like, I'm like 36. Maybe I haven't done everything I could do with my life. Maybe this is the last chance I have to like do something big. And his wife kind of like jumps on board with it. And so
it's a little early for a midlife crisis.
Right. His dad's part of like, not the baby boomer generation, maybe the silent generation or the greatest generation. Basically, he doesn't want to become his dad because his dad kind of like worked until he died and like never really fulfilled his dreams, his field of dreams.
He never felt his dreams, yeah.
And so this is about like not taking on the baggage from your parents, and he wants to do something kind of impulsive. And so he follows this voice. He builds a baseball field in his cornfield. Ghosts of old baseball players start to appear, and he gets to interact with them. And then the voice keeps saying things, and he realizes he needs to, go find this writer from the 60s who's maybe disillusioned in his own life, and it's James Earl Jones, and they have like a really funny interaction where Kevin Costner basically has to kidnap him to bring him to a baseball game, and James Earl Jones is like, whatever, fine. And then James Earl Jones kind of like gets in on it.
He can hear it too.
Kind of like, it's very cool. They're kind of figuring out what's happening here. Why are we hearing voices? And then it becomes about like James Earl Jones like reigniting his passion, and he kind of goes to heaven at the end. And I always thought that was him dying at the end, but I think they do make it pretty clear that he's like coming back at the end of this movie. Like he just like goes to the afterlife to visit it.
Yeah, and he gets to come back and write about it. I want the follow-up. Yeah. I want to see what happens afterwards.
Field of Dreams 2.
Where it's the plastered, front headline, heaven, real? Question mark?
Field of Nightmares.
More like Field of Nightmares. One man goes in and comes back forever changed.
Yeah. And then right when you think the movie's ending, you realize Kevin Costner's dad is one of the baseball players who came back, and he gets to play catch with his dad, who's a ghost, his ghost dad.
Ghost dad.
And his dad gets to meet his family. All of that doesn't really matter because my favorite part of this movie is Amy Madigan as his wife. This is kind of my first and maybe only touch point with her. She's in a bunch of movies in the 90s that I've never really seen, but I know her from this, and I know her from that Hunt movie that came out a few years back, like during COVID, where it's like we're hunting people in the woods and stuff. Did you see that?
I did not see that. Didn't even know that was a thing.
Anyway, she's in there. She's a firecracker in this. She reminds me of like Holly Hunter
Mm. Yeah.
And I love her in the PTA scene where they're talking about burning books, and that
Oh
kind
my
of like
God.
leads to the James Earl Jones side quest.
It's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because he's ciphering out whatever that means. What is it? Ease his pain, and he's
Yeah,
like writing it down like a psycho in the middle of the PTA meeting.
I
Yeah, that
just
that scene was great. It hit a little too close to home. 40 years later, of
uh-huh.
like, oh, we're still talking about this. Amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
You get so many like wife characters in these movies who can just be like off to the side and just supportive, and she is, but there's just they give her so much oomph, and I think the actress has such like a screen presence that she just like jumps off of the screen for me,
yeah,
and I love that she gets kind of like a highlight in that scene.
because she emotes and she gives more of the performance. She is the perfect yin to the yang of Kevin
Hmm.
Costner, kind of middle of the road molasses kind of performance, and she's like you said, a firecracker, just jumps off the screen. So they're a good pairing. The thing that I also had like a what the hell? Why didn't why didn't the writer think of something better than this? Like he's like, "Okay, honey, listen, I've been hearing voices. It says if you build it, he will come." Build what? I don't know, maybe a baseball field or something. I think I'm going to do it. And she's like, "Okay." And then like a couple weeks later they're like, "Oh, the bills. We didn't think that we would lose money."
Yeah,
And it's like, you didn't think about that?
I mean it really asks you to believe a lot with like a few sentences worth of writing. I mean, he has kind of a scene where yeah, he sees a vision of the baseball field. That's what inspires him to build this entire baseball field. And then he
Yeah.
has a scene, like one scene with the wife where he makes the plea like, I don't want to become my dad. I'm kind of going through a midlife crisis right now. I need to do this. And the wife is like the perfect combination of understanding and also like hippy dippy from the 60s impulsive that she does go along with it.
Yeah.
And then right as they're starting to experience financial troubles, the ghosts show up on the field
Mhm.
months later. So that kind of like keeps the flame alive, keeps them with a reason to do it. And then Timothy Busfield comes in and wants to buy up the farm. And that's when kind of the road trip with James Earl Jones is happening. They share a dream. And so it the script does kind of sprinkle in these supernatural moments that make it keep rolling.
Yeah.
But it's a fantasy movie. That's what happens.
It is a fantasy movie. I feel like a little more credence could have been given to some of those supernatural moments.
Hmm.
Like when they're having the conversation on the stairs of like, I had the same dream, I was doing this, that, and the other. Um, it moved pretty quickly
Hmm.
of just like, okay, well, I gotta go to fucking Boston to go pick up this guy. I'll help you pack. It went pretty quick. And then I think there was enough like emotional beat and timing with the James Earl Jones stuff
Hmm.
where he heard go the distance and he saw the thing and he's like, "You didn't see it, did you?" He's like, "All right, well, this was a waste of time." And then so like there was some build up there because there was like changing of scenery and James Earl Jones is just a powerhouse of a performer. So anytime he's on the screen, it's just great. But I feel like that supernatural bit of like I heard the same thing too. Let's go on. Let's continue the road trip. Let's go west. Going to fucking Minnesota, right? Is that where they go?
Yeah, they end up
Clear.
like Midwest when they're doing like the Doc Brown stuff, the Archie,
Oh,
no, Graham,
yeah.
not Doc Brown.
Let yeah. Gonna see some shit, kid. Yeah. Uh, which that scene was really confusing. That whole thing of like, I
Yeah,
see a ghost. This guy died, but I'm seeing him as an old man, as a doctor, and he tells me about his dream. But then you see him later back on the ball field as a young man.
that was the part that I forgot from watching this in childhood because it's just like you're saying, it is kind of confusing. The movie kind of breaks its own rules because they pick up hitchhiker young Archie Graham on the road in the middle of America, bring him to the baseball field, and then from that point on, he's with the ghost and he can't step off of the baseball field. So it's confusing. Um, but I do
Yeah,
like your point how this movie does move kind of rapid fire. We talked about how it just like it starts right into it and you're immediately hearing the voice and you don't even
we
have to.
clocked it. We clocked
Yeah.
it like 19 minutes and something seconds. It's like the baseball field is built and it's done.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, we waited for nothing.
which like pacing, yeah, we love it.
Sure.
And then it makes me appreciate more when the movie kind of like slows down the second James Earl Jones comes in, because there he realizes he has to go and find this writer Terrence Mann, who's like a recluse now. He was like big in like the social civil rights movements in the 60s, and now he's kind of disillusioned with the world, and so he has to figure out what his connection is to all of this. He goes and finds him, and then you spend like 5 to 10 minutes of him just trying to like get into his apartment, and then doing this like song and dance number where he's kind of considering like, do I got to kidnap this guy? I got to get him to this baseball field. James Earl Jones does not want to go. He's very crotchety in all of this. He's got some real funny lines where like Kevin Costner calls him a pacifist, and he's like, shit, because he's about to like beat him up with a crowbar.
Yeah, stop. That was amazing. Yeah, that whole scene was really great. And yeah, you're right. In terms of pacing, I did appreciate that. That kind of like threw us back into third gear for a second to slow down and coast. Because before that, it was hard hitting, pretty quick, one thing after another. Build the baseball field, see the ghost, talk to the ghost, hear another voice, get back in the car, go across town, do all this stuff. And then it's like, okay, let's slow down, take a breather. There's more to the mystery. That was great. That was the thing I had no idea about. I thought it was just the one line of if you build it, he will come.
There's more.
I know. I didn't know that there was two other pieces.
It's like National Treasure.
Right, yeah. It's this whole cipher, the thing that you got to do it in. Isn't this one of those lines that's like often like misquoted? Because they never say if you build it, they will come. It's
like the Mandela effect thing.
Yeah,
like people don't remember.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's if you build it, he will come.
Yeah.
And yeah, people misquote it sometimes. We just something about what you were saying. We used to talk about how certain movies that we cover would work well as like really random indie video games. I want to play the Field of Dreams CD-ROM where you're dealing with like kind of 8-bit Kevin Costner standing in front of the screen like Oregon Trail style, like, where should I build the baseball field? Here, and then you build, and then the ghosts come, and then they're like, you gotta go find James Earl Jones. Road trip. The farm is losing money.
It is like Oregon Trail, amazing. Yeah, and then in between, interstitially, there's like baseball trivia in between. That'd be amazing.
You know,
Shoeless Joe Jackson got his name from A, never wearing shoes, B, from the actual example. Yeah, that'd be great.
We really got to make these.
I know we should. We should learn how to program video games and just take the time.
Yeah.
That's what you can do in your off time. Yeah. Speaking of Shoeless Joe Jackson, such a fun connection there between us specifically. When you first started work at supply.com, when we worked together back in 2016, I remember when you were interviewing, and Matt, our manager at the time, he's like, yeah, we're going to bring in this guy, Joe. He's great. Shoeless Joe Jackson. And I was like, Shoeless Joe. I didn't understand the reference. I had no idea. We called you Shoeless Joe for a time. And
I'm just now remembering that you guys did call me Shoeless for like 4 years.
Yeah. Did you get it? Did you like from?
I did. I didn't realize that you didn't get it. So you just thought that they were calling me Shoeless Joe.
Well,
like a hobo.
In passing, Matt was like, like the baseball player, and I was like, oh, totally, the baseball player. Anyway, I was like, that sounds made up.
I'm actually gonna switch over to my Wikipedia tab. Shoeless Joe Jackson was a real person, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm looking at his page now. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So the whole time it comes up, I didn't know that was a part of the movie. So it's like based on the book by Shoeless Joe, or Shoeless Joe by whoever. And I was like, oh shit, that's amazing. I have this.
So you had like a full circle moment of realization here.
Yeah. It was perfect. It was great.
That's what this podcast is about, Justin.
That is what it's about.
We learn about each other, we learn about movies, but mostly we learn about ourselves.
And if you can't do that, then what are we even doing? Why even?
Why don't you tell me a little bit more about what you're sipping on there, bud?
So my it's kind of faded a little bit, but I did this thing. I got the idea from you can make like a coffee cocktail or just a coffee cold beverage or something. You take marshmallow fluff on the back of a
Ooh,
spoon and you smear it on the inside of the glass, and then you
what?
use dry erase marker to make the eyes. So I got like little ghosties in my glass.
Oh, I thought
Um,
that was just like one of those like old little themed jelly jars that you get where like the paint's kind of peeling off. That looks
no, no,
really
no,
good.
no, no, no. It's that, and then the inside is uh, sour mix, bourbon, Campari, um, kind of just like an older fashioned kind of like whiskey drink,
Hmm.
a whiskey sour drink. But I'm calling it a ghost dad because of the ghost, because there's a
Ooh,
shitload of ghosts in this movie.
and one of them's a ghost dad.
Yeah,
Oh, that makes sense. That sounds
yeah,
tasty.
yeah. What do you got?
Um, I went more of the corn route. So I am calling this a diamond in the corn because it's like a diamond in the rough, but also you have a baseball diamond in the corn in this movie.
Oh my god!
Um, it is something called Nixta corn liqueur that we got.
Oh my god!
It's a liqueur that comes in a bottle, and the glass looks like corn, like it's like kernels of corn.
That
Sponsored by
bottle is
Nixta.
that bottle is ribbed.
Yeah, I think it's ribbed for your pleasure, and it's from Mexico.
Ay
Um,
ay ay.
so that's in it. And then the rest is tequila blanco, fresh lime juice, and then Cointreau. So this is basically a margarita with corn liqueur in it.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing. Joe, is this your first appearance of tequila on this podcast? It might be.
Surely not. No, no,
I
no,
don't
no,
know.
no, no. I would have
You've done it.
remembered spelling the word tequila.
Quil. Yeah.
There's not a C in there.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. I was trying to think of like how do I introduce like peanuts and like caramel corn for like Cracker Jacks into
Just
this,
like
but
classic baseball.
yeah, I was gonna do like just a regular beer with the ghosts still on the inside and put a hot dog in the middle like a straw.
Ooh,
Ugh, but
that's a lot.
we didn't have any hot dogs or beer in the fridge today,
Hmm.
so we got Ghost Dad.
I like Ghost Dad.
Ghost Dad's great.
Good, Justin. Okay,
Mm.
let's cover some other notes on Field of Dreams. There were some quotes that I wrote down that I laughed at. The only thing we had in common is that she came from Iowa, and I had once heard of Iowa.
Such a ridiculous line.
I like how this is secretly just like an Iowa tourism movie. It's so much about how Iowa is like maybe heaven, maybe not. Let's go to Iowa
Yeah.
and see all the corn. This is about Kevin Costner really just needing friends. He wants to just like play ball with someone so bad. I
So
love
bad.
the first scene with him and Shoeless Joe when Shoeless Joe first shows up on the first night, and just like wordlessly Kevin Costner goes out. He's kind of amazed, and then he just like starts throwing the ball with him, and he asks Shoeless Joe goes out into the outfield, and Kevin Costner's like, okay, I'll hit you a ball, and then he just whiffs the shit out of it. It's
And he's
so
like,
good.
"Oh man, like how embarrassing." Oh, 100%. I
It's
did not see
so
that.
me.
I didn't see I didn't see that happening. It was great. That was a funny
And you
moment.
could tell he's just like, God damn it.
Ruining my chances in front of this fucking ghost.
Stupid, stupid, stupid. And then he hits the next one, and it's fine. I forgot he literally time travels in this movie back to like the 50s. Them not letting Ty Cobb play is LOL. You know why he stopped writing books? Because he masturbates. That whole PTA scene is so funny to me.
Insane.
Ray, I just halted the spread of neo-fascism in America. The fact that there's a ghost umpire in addition to like ghost baseball players, I really want to dig in on that with someone someday because there's just like so much going on there. Is
Yeah.
there heaven for everyone? Are we split up into your jobs in heaven? And if so, did the umpire heaven have to like speak with the baseball player heaven in order to get the umpire in there?
They had to agree. Yeah, I mean, because they're talking like there's so many people who wanted to come, apparently, just waiting in the corn
Just
to come play baseball.
the implications are so beyond what this movie is prepared to talk about.
That is my third note in here, is just like there are so many more questions than answers that you get. And I guess that's fine. Life's a mystery, whatever.
There could be
But
a
like,
whole Field of Dream multiverse, where like what other fields are out there, and what other dreams and what other ghosts are coming.
yeah, like is there a basketball version? Is there a shuttlecock version of Field of Dreams that just like,
Tennis, badminton court of dreams.
yeah, pickleball court of dreams, like in modern times. Someone who died 2 years ago wants to come back and play pickleball, you know.
This sounds like a Rick and Morty episode where it's like mini golf of dreams. They keep on going to different universes where it's just different field of dreams.
Oh, geez, Rick, this sounds really, kind of pandering, don't you think? Yeah, whatever, Morty.
Chess of dreams.
Chess of dreams. Yeah. So
Um, and yeah, the ending is insane. You have multiple things happening in quick succession. Karen, the daughter, falling off the bleachers and choking on a hot dog. Most traumatic moment of my childhood.
My God.
They walk that off very quickly. They're like, yeah, she almost died. Let's go talk to these ghosts some more.
And then when Doc Holliday comes off the field and he decides he doesn't want to be a ghost he doesn't want to be a young ghost anymore. He wants to be an old ghost now.
Yeah.
Which what? Then he's like, what happened? And Annie's brother is like, oh, she fell. Sure she did. You fucking dropped her, you
almost murdered her. You don't deserve to see the ghosts.
Yeah. So I had a quick jump in my brain. I was like, oh God, she's dead. She's gonna come through the field now.
Justin, I didn't even think of that.
That's what I was
actually that's going to play right into my game at the end of this episode, because there's there's a lot going on in this movie where it could have turned south.
It absolutely could have. And that part was insane. And that is one of my other notes in here, is just like, fuck Annie's brother. Holy shit, that guy is a garbage person.
Yeah.
They should have told him to fuck off so much earlier.
His name's Timothy Busfield. I know him almost exclusively from this movie. And then about a year ago, we did a full watch of The West Wing for the first time for me. And he plays kind of a recurring character on that show. He's he's part of the press in the press room, and he's actually really cool. And so that was kind of a full circle redemption arc for me. I don't hate him anymore because I like him on The West Wing.
There you go. That's fair.
He gets with Alice and Janney. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie's fun. There's a lot of good quotes in it, and there's pretty good iconic scenes in it. Even though when they do kind of like the back off, kind of swooping look of their property, like towards the end, I mean, like they have so much extra fields of corn. That one little bit of land, if for a not regulation size baseball diamond, can't be costing them that much money.
And they're worried about having to sell the farm for probably millions. Like, you'd be destitute.
Yeah, you guys are really bad with money.
I think it's very indicative of this podcast that we're doing a sports mini series about Field of Dreams, and we're not really talking about baseball.
No, I could give a shit about the baseball players, the history,
James Earl Jones gives a whole monologue at the end of the movie about how baseball's the beating heart of America. We have not talked about that at all.
No. He's saying
we're
his whole thing.
Talking about the science here.
Yeah, the implications, the supernatural part of it. Yeah, he's giving that monologue, and I'm like, yeah, it's a great monologue. This is a good scene, but I'm like, barf. Baseball is the through line of humanity and America. Barf.
Yeah, I mean, it does go a little hard in that, and I was like, okay, there's maybe better themes here than just coming back to baseball. Baseball needs to be the metaphor here, not the end all be all.
Yeah, guys, there's a scene. This is a quick parallel because this is what it reminds me of. In the episode that Ryan and I did about Marley and Me. I had never read the book before. First time I read the book, there's a scene towards the end where the main character, John, is on a writing assignment, and he goes to Washington, D.C. or something like that. And there's this whole page and a half thing where he's like, and then I decided to take a walk around the Washington Monument. And it made me really proud to be an American, and it
You
just
guys
goes on
talked
for
about that.
it went
It's
on for
so
way
weird.
so long, and it's just like, this feels really out of place. Like, isn't this movie about like your dog? Like, should we get back to the dog? And that's the same thing here. It's just like, we need to talk about like the family things and like fucking ghosts, and it's like, no, baseball brings us back together. It's just like, this is too much, you guys.
Looking at the Washington Monument really made me think: can jet fuel melt steel beams like that?
No, Joe.
Isn't there like 9/11 stuff in that book? Or
Oh
no?
yeah. I think there's mention of 9/11. Yeah,
Okay. I didn't
no,
read it. I wasn't part of that episode.
you weren't there.
I wasn't there. Okay. Let's do some wrap up thoughts on Field of Dreams before I get into end games.
Yeah.
What are your, I guess, like, do you feel better now that Field of Dreams is part of your culture? And it's just like in your life now.
I do appreciate it because I know that it was like an iconic movie of the late 80s, 90s kind of a thing. It's permeated into the brains of many.
Yeah.
Um, truth be told, when I was doing a little bit of research to make the trailer and the end game thing, I was looking up stuff on YouTube about Field of Dreams and stuff. They did something several years back where they did a like White Sox and whoever else is playing, and they built a like little field set at one of the baseball stadiums. I don't know what the fuck it was. But it was like this really cool special thing that they did, and Kevin Costner was there, and he walked out in the outfield, and he walks out, and he's like reenacting some of his scenes, and the theme is playing, like swelling through the stadium, and then the players come out through the field, and it's really cool, and it's really emotional. And I didn't realize it until watching that. I was like, oh, wow, the theme is really strong and really good. I enjoy this this hits more than the movie did for some reason. But like, I could give a shit about the MLB. But yeah, overall, like, I think this movie was a good time. It's a
Yeah.
dad movie. It's a dad's father, son, parent kind of a thing. Even though I wish they kind of would have like closed the loop a little bit more. They were like, okay, so Ray Liotta's been talking to me this whole time. They're in cahoots in ghost purgatory heaven or whatever. So his dad apparently comes up with like, I got this great idea. Whisper to my son to build a baseball field and go find this writer to connect to this guy to come back, and then I'll be nonchalant. You guys will go back in the field, but I'll be like putting my shit away, and then I'll like longingly turn around.
I'm going to look hot as hell.
I'm going to make sure I'm hot as shit.
Can we just talk about like how the dad picked his hottest version of himself to come back?
Yes.
I really had that written down. Like, why is this dad so hot right now? Anyway,
how do you get Kevin Costner from like that gene pool? Like, holy shit.
God, register that jawline as a weapon on that baseball field.
No kidding. But so like there was that whole thing too. And then it asked more questions, or presented more questions than giving answers, of just like, his dad knew who he was sort of, but not really till the end. Until he says
the ending is very much a vibes ending. You just gotta you gotta go with it.
Yeah, it is. But I enjoyed it. I do feel better that it is a part of my culture.
Yeah, this is obviously a huge movie for like baseball fans and dad fans. And I like to think like it is part of the cultural zeitgeist at large, that there's like a non-zero percentage of cultural references that you're now going to get, just like in general. Like it's permeated in that way.
Oh, 100%. You got
Excellent, Justin. Okay. Why don't we jump forward into end games before we get into our exciting next steps for our podcast?
Wonderful. Buckle up.
Till I heard the voice. I'd never done a crazy thing in my whole life.
Are you really hearing voices?
angels here? Oh no, they don't exist here.
There's a man out there in your wallet.
I can't take credit for that. I can't take credit for that.
You can't take credit for the whole thing, or just Field of Screams?
The whole thing. For the whole thing, I can't. I was looking for like a horror cut. I knew there had to be something like out there, but
Yeah.
the audio that went with it, I was like, this is too fucking good. I got to keep it.
I was gonna say, like, I only gave you a title for this game, and you delivered exactly what I was looking for here. So we kind of touched on this in our description, but like, there's pieces of this movie that could really be bent in like a horror thriller direction with just the smallest changes. Like, there's something about ghosts coming out of the cornfields, paired with like dad hearing voices, family experiencing financial troubles, young child. It's like it's The Shining to me. With like different music. You could change up the score to this movie, and this movie becomes an entirely different thing. You could change up like tiny plot details, and suddenly he is kidnapping James Earl Jones, or like he is going crazy out in the cornfield.
Yeah.
So here's what this is. This is a game called Let's Turn This Into a Horror Movie.
Yes.
Let's play a game where we turn the movies that we have covered into horror movies just by changing a few key details. There's not going to be any points or scoring or whatever. I'm just going to see how well you do and judge you silently. So, for example, in Field of Dreams, it turns out that Kevin Costner is actually hearing things, and he slowly becomes crazier and crazier out on that farm, and then he finds an axe. That's my example for Field of Dreams. That is what I want you to bring to these other examples.
Or his whole family was dead the whole time.
I love it.
I love it. Just a little Sixth Sense.
Give it all to me. We are mind melding right now. Just come up with the most creative thing. Okay. So I'm going to give you 8 movies that we have covered that are, on the range of like lighthearted to just like straight up dramas.
Yeah.
I know we have covered horror movies. We're not going to cover those here because they already are horror movies.
Yeah.
But by changing the smallest things, I want you to turn them into horror movies and kind of describe to me how you got there for each.
Okay. Yeah. The lowest level. Got it.
You get it. Impress me here. All right. Number 1, Chicken Run.
Oh, I knew you were going to go to this one.
I always go to Chicken Run.
Okay, so part of me wants to keep it all the same, but either make the chickens not sentient. They're just stop motion chickens, and they still get like murdered and stuff like that, but it's kind of like a chicken uprising sort of a thing. Or at the end, like they can't stop what's her nuts, the crazy lady, and they all just like get on the chopping block. But I think some combination of that, of just making them just stop motion chickens, horrifying.
Something about making them not sentient really just like put a chill down my spine. Like I was not expecting that. I like where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, a little bit of a curveball. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, kind of make it like a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it is. The USS
the Callister,
Callister, yeah, where he kind of like gets stuck in his own mind. So like when Mark Ruffalo and Kirsten Dunst are kind of like fucking around in his apartment, and they kind of like mess up the machine or do something like that. They go too far. Mm-hmm. He like gets jizz on the machine or something like that, and it breaks. And he's like stuck in his brain. He can't get the machine off, or the machine comes off, and he can't leave. So he's like trapped in his own deteriorating mind.
Every second in the real world is like a million years for him in his mind. Ooh,
yeah, scary,
incredible. Okay, you're doing great. Number 3, Super Troopers.
Super Troopers. Just remove all the comedy from it. It's just a cop movie. It's just a movie about cops being inadequate, being bad at their jobs, being trigger happy,
Yeah.
racist pigs, and it's just that. It's just a cop movie, just straight up just cops. The TV show.
Yeah. Just like remove the space for like laugh track moments, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone.
Just like
yeah.
keep those hard silences in place. Really let us sit with it.
Mhm.
Okay. I like it. Number 4, The Parent Trap. Where do we go with this one?
Okay, so we kind of had the discussion of like the legality of it. The back half of the movie becomes a legal drama movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
And both sets of parents lose custody. Neither parent gains custody. The kids have to go to an orphanage where they are split up forever, and they can never see each other again.
It's like the saddest horror movie on earth. That's also what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 5. See what you can do with this. When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, kind of like American Psycho, because that's kind of sort of the vibe and
Yeah.
sort of the aesthetic in some places. Just make Harry be like a sociopath on his course to like his first kill.
Uh-huh.
But like he has his like attachment to humanity with Sally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of like his deranged kind of turn, because he is
It's
kind of
like the
he's kind of
building of
weirdo.
a serial killer over like 15 years, and it culminates in like she's his first victim.
Pretty much, yeah. Because if he can't have wait. If he can't have her, then no one will.
You got there, yeah.
And then I'll have what she's having, and then he also
Yes.
offs himself too. Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. Number 6. Can't Hardly Wait.
Ooh. Kind of like maybe turn up the ick vibe, kind of the cringe vibe, with
Yeah.
the main character of Preston. Make him kind of like a stalker.
Mm-hmm.
Turn up those stalkery vibes. Like he's been obsessing over this girl for 4 years of high school. Kind of similar to when Harry Met Sally, like we were just talking about, where he's been secretly stalking her this entire time, and now this is his one chance at the party.
Yeah.
And he gets locked in the bathroom with her, and strangles her.
Terrifying. It's like Red Eye at a house party.
Yes, love Red Eye.
Yeah. I took this one in kind of like a creature direction. Like, what if the entire house party was vampires and they chose that night to like sacrifice him as graduation night? And then they're like, at the end, we're going to take over this town too. Yeah.
I love that.
Don't forget creature horror.
Okay.
Yeah. Bring that in.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of which, number 7, Best in Show.
Oh, it's from the point of view of the dogs. Yeah,
Nothing else changes.
Nothing else changes. It's the dog's internal monologue. You can't hear Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, nothing. It's the dog's point of view of just like, it's that one TikTok sound. It's like, excuse me, I need your help. I need you to kill me.
These poor dogs and the
These
busy
poor dogs.
bee.
Yeah, it's this one dog that's like a prize bull or whatever, and he's like, I can't keep fucking. I gotta stop. They breed me nonstop. I'm over it. And it's
still a mockumentary. There's still like interviews with the camera.
Yeah, there's still cutaways, and it's just a dog just sitting there, just ridiculous.
Okay, last one had to do it. The Devil Wears Prada.
It's kind of like a bedazzled movie.
Yeah, the devil, the actual devil.
Yeah, at the end, Miranda turns out to be the literal devil who wears Prada. Kind of like what's that Keanu Reeves movie? Not
Devil's
Constantine,
Advocate.
The Devil's Advocate kind of a thing, where the devil reveals herself, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm here to influence, and that's why I brought myself into fashion." And little did you know, like all this kind of stuff. And it's yeah, she's the literal devil at the end.
Yeah, kind of set you up for that when it's in the title.
Yeah. Amazing.
Excellent, Justin. I think you have like a very clear future in screenwriting, and I'm really interested to see what you do with that going forward.
Me too.
Very cool. That was Let's Turn This Into a Horror Movie, Passed with Flying Colors. Why don't you tell our listeners about some of the milestones coming up for us and where we're going with our next mini series.
So I'm kind of just flying off the seat of my pants off a conversation we had 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, go for
So
it.
technically, we're
Yeah.
catching you guys on technicalities. This episode, Field of Dreams, is technically, is our 48th episode. This is our
Yeah,
48th live episode that we've
It depends on if we count certain ones that maybe aren't covering, like movies.
So, therefore, we've done 48 episodes that have been released. However, we have technically done 50, not counting Gladiator and Scream, the two that we've done. So that technically brings us up to 50. So just on a whim of technicality, let's throw the rules out the window and just celebrate doing 50 episodes, being on the air, whatever, on the internet for 2 years is pretty cool. And I think that's worthy of celebrating. So what better way to celebrate than showcase some of our favorite movies, even though we have seen them. Each other has seen each other's movies. So we're just going to do our favorite movies, and I don't know how Joe wants to do his.
Yeah.
We still need to discuss. I think we
Yeah.
go whole hog and just do the full thing, make it a weekend. Because there's interesting perspectives I can bring to that one. But fuck it, it's a celebration. 50 episodes is nothing to sneeze at. It's a pretty big deal. We're pretty consistent. We're better than most podcasts that do stuff out there anyway.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do like our favorite movies rather, for the next couple episodes. I'm gonna bring to the table. I'm bringing Forrest Gump. That has, as long as I can remember, the like tell us something interesting about yourself sort of icebreaker. That's always been my go-to thing of just like, well, my favorite movie is Forrest Gump because I've seen it a ton. I remember watching it, and I think it is the complete total package of a movie. Really strong performances, great story, great sweeping eras of American history. Super cool. I want to bring that to the table. Joe is considering bringing Lord of the Rings to the table. How do we do that? I don't know, because of course, if we're going to do it, we're going to do the extended edition, which is 12 plus hours plus bonus footage. Who knows?
Yeah, Justin asks like, what's my favorite movie? And my answer to that is always just like blanket Lord of the Rings. I treat it as one movie, but I'm realizing it's very hard to do that in this case because it is kind of a 12-hour commitment. We've obviously both watched it, so it's not going to be an issue to talk about, but I may figure out a way for us to like watch and talk in a reasonable manner.
Yeah, I mean, because I can bring a perspective, because you've never read the books, and I've read them twice.
I haven't read the books yet.
And they are incredible, so we can talk about a lot of that stuff.
I think I have read the books, but I was very, very much a wee lad when that happened.
A wee boy. That's great. So that's what we're doing for this next series. It's 50. It's worthy celebrating. And then I think after that, we're kind of just going to tread water and either go back to some of our core stuff of like directors and actors and things like that. I know that there's a Winona series on the horizon that we want to do. Maybe we circle back and do some more Kevin Costner stuff. Who knows? I definitely want to do a long stretch, multi-month stretch of sequels. We're going to do that for sure.
Sequels just like in general, or sequels to movies that we have covered?
The latter.
Okay. I'm going to add on to that like sequels / remakes, because I will make you watch Treasure Planet one of these days.
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. All that kind of shit. Yeah.
Already on your wavelength there.
It's happening. But yeah, so that's it. That is, Uncultured Universe in a bubble, and that's what we're doing. Hope you enjoyed our sports mini series. We know we did. We love sports over here.
Take me out to the ball game.
Yeah, it's baseball season, but basketball's probably still happening. You can go play pickleball whenever you want. Hockey is a thing too. So do your stuff. Do what you like. Check us out on all the socials at at Uncultured Universe on Instagram and TikTok and all the shit, and catch us wherever you get your podcasts at. And we will catch you guys later to celebrate 50.
Bye.
Okay, bye.